You have spent your entire life asking. You asked for love, you asked for money, you asked for the healing of that family situation that keeps you awake at night. You asked at altars, you asked on your knees, you asked crying in your bathroom, heart heavy, thinking no one heard you. And nothing happened, nothing changed. The bills kept coming, the phone remained silent, and that old pain kept sleeping by your side every night. And today you are here, perhaps for the 1,000th time, looking for an answer. But I need to tell you a truth that will hurt before it sets you free. You received nothing because you forgot the main secret. You do not attract what you ask for, you attract what you feel you already are. And as long as you beg, you will be confirming to the universe that you do not yet have it. That is why life delivers exactly that, lack. Today, in this video, I will teach you how to turn the key. I will show you the technique that Neville Goddard called the law of assumption, the same one that Joseph Murphy described as the power of the subconscious mind, and I will give you the exact path to move out of the state of waiting and occupy right now the state of the wish fulfilled. Take a deep breath, because what you are about to hear here may end decades of useless struggle. How many times have you tried to change your life? How many times have you sworn to yourself that this time it would be different, and 2 months later you were back at the same point? It is not your weakness. It is that no one explained to you that the universe does not respond to your mouth. It responds to your feeling. The feeling is the secret. It is not what you say. It is not what you pray. It is what you feel deep down about who you are. It is your I am. And as long as the dominant feeling is fear, the subconscious works day and night to confirm that fear. It creates bridges of incidents, puts people, situations, delays, and blocks in your path, all perfectly choreographed to deliver more of what you feel to be true. The subconscious does not judge, it only obeys, and it obeys the state of consciousness you occupy most frequently. Stop for a second. Look at what is happening to you right now. You are here in the silence of your home, and something inside your chest is stirring. It is not common curiosity. While thousands pass by similar messages and keep scrolling the feed, you froze. Something held you here. This tightness in your chest, this tear that insists on escaping, that is your soul recognizing a call older than yourself. And it is asking you, with urgency, to protect what you love most, your peace, your family, your eternity. That is why I prepared the powerful digital book for you, called Como Saber Se Deus Vai Te Salvar, No Juízo Final, a material that is changing the lives of thousands of Brazilian brothers who, like you, felt that same tightness and decided not to pretend it was nothing. The link is pinned in the description of this video and right at the top of the comments. Do not leave it for later. Content like this can be taken down at any time, because deep truths disturb those who prefer darkness. If this message is touching your heart now, write the word Amen in the comments as a decree of acceptance of this new phase. Back to the essentials. Most people treat manifestation like a spiritual lottery. They ask, they wait, and when they do not receive, they blame God, they blame destiny, they blame luck. But Neville Goddard said something that shakes those who truly understand. The entire Bible is, at its deepest layer, a psychological manual of consciousness, and the Christ within you is your own creative power. When he spoke before you ask, "It has already been given to you," it was not a decorative phrase, it was a technical instruction. The gift is already available. The problem is that you have not yet occupied the state in which it manifests. This is the law of assumption. You assume, that is, you take possession in consciousness of what is already yours by spiritual right. You do not sit there hoping it happens. You feel with every cell in your body that it has already happened. Imagine the scene. You have the overdue bill on the table, your credit ruined, your heart heavy. The old method taught you to pray asking for the money, but the true method teaches you to enter the state of consciousness of a person who is already up to date with their bills. Feel the relief. Feel the lightness in your chest. Feel the silent pride of knowing that everything is fine. This is occupying the fourth dimension, the level where reality is still malleable, where the event has not yet been crystallized in the physical world. And it is in this dimension that everything is decided. The physical world is only the late echo of what you felt before. That is why those who live complaining attract more reasons to complain. That is why those who live fearing illness attract illness. That is why those who live doubting love attract relationships that confirm that doubt. It is not punishment. It is not a curse. It is law, as precise as gravity. And as you process this, notice, it is no coincidence that just now, at the moment this law begins to reveal itself to you, the opportunity to dive deeper arises. That is why I prepared the powerful digital book for you, Como Saber Se Deus Vai Te Salvar No Juízo Final. The link is in the description and at the top of the comments. Do not delay. You were led here for a reason greater than you imagine, and that reason has a name, the protection of your family and your soul. Let us go deeper. There is a specific technique that Neville Goddard taught, and that very few Brazilians know properly. It is called nocturnal reprogramming. It is the most sacred moment of your day. Those final minutes before sleeping, when the body is already heavy and the mind begins to slide into sleep. In this state, called the drowsy state, the door between the conscious and the subconscious is fully open. Everything you feel in these instants will be recorded, literally recorded, in your subconscious mind. And it is this mind that will build the next 24 hours of your life. Think about it. How many times have you fallen asleep worried, ruminating on debts, ruminating on fights, ruminating on frustrations? How many times have you gone to bed with a tight chest because of a difficult child, a distant husband, a bitter wife, an unfair boss? Each of those nights was a programming session. You programmed your subconscious to deliver more of the same. And it, obedient as always, delivered. The turn happens when you decide with firmness to change the last mental image of the day. Before closing your eyes, you create a short, simple sensory scene, a scene that proves that your desire has already been realized, not the scene of the desire happening in the future. The scene after it has already happened. For example, if you want reconciliation with your child, do not imagine them apologizing. Imagine the two of you sitting on the sofa, laughing at a silly joke. Feel the smell of coffee. Feel their hand on your shoulder. Feel the relief of knowing that that fight is in the past. Repeat this scene, return to it. Dive into it like someone entering a warm bathtub. Persistence. That is the name of the game. It is not doing it once. It is not doing it for 3 days. It is doing it every night with conviction, until the subconscious accepts this scene as the new pattern of truth. And here enters a concept that will shake you: internal dialogue. Have you ever stopped to listen to the conversations you have inside your own head? That monologue that never shuts up, that cruel judge that comments on every move you make, that pessimistic narrator that foresees disaster at every corner? Neville taught that your internal dialogue is your continuous prayer. You are praying all day long without realizing it. Only you are praying the wrong way. You are praying for the worst. When you drive in traffic in São Paulo and murmur between your teeth, "I knew I was going to be late," you are praying. When you open the bank app and think, "I will never be able to pay for everything," you are praying. When you look in the mirror and say, "I am getting old, worn out, tired," you are praying. And the universe responds with absolute punctuality, materializing exactly what this internal dialogue states. Therefore, changing your life is not changing cities. It is not changing jobs. It is not changing partners. It is changing your internal dialogue. It is watching every sentence that passes through your mind, like someone watching the door of their own house at night. You are the doorman of your consciousness. And a lot of things have gotten in there because you were caught napping. Today you wake up. There is still one detail that separates those who manifest from those who just talk about manifestation. It is the fidelity to the state during the day. In the morning, you wake up and occupy the state of the wish fulfilled. You feel that you already are. Everything is beautiful. But then the bus is late, the boss yells, the card is denied, the bank queue is huge, and in seconds, without realizing it, you abandon the state. You go back to feeling small. You go back to feeling the tightness. You go back to feeling the victim. And in that instant, the manifestation you planted in the morning is uprooted. The subconscious receives the opposite message. Confused, it cancels the request. That is why persistence is not just once a day. It is a constant exercise of returning. Every time you catch yourself fallen into the old state, you do not judge yourself. You just take a deep breath and gently return to the state of the wish fulfilled. like someone returning to prayer after a distraction. No fighting, no guilt. Only the patient return, 20, 30, 50 times a day if necessary. Little by little, the new state becomes the pattern, and the old pattern dissolves. Stop here. Feel what is happening in your chest right now, this tightness, this chill, this tear. It is not manufactured emotion, it is recognition. Your soul is recognizing truths it already knew. And precisely at this moment, as the scales begin to fall from your eyes, I need to remind you of something grave. What good is it to manifest prosperity in the physical world if your eternity is at risk? What good is it to wake up to the law of assumption and remain asleep to the law of judgment? That is why I prepared the powerful digital book for you. Como saber se Deus vai te salvar no juízo final. It is not common reading. It is a mirror. It reveals where you are stuck on your spiritual walk and what needs to be corrected before it is too late. The link is pinned in the description and at the top of the comments. Thousands have reported immediate liberation from old fears. You were not guided here by chance. Comment Amen now and let it be sealed over your house. Let's talk about the most sacred concept of all, the name Moses heard in the burning bush, the I Am. Every time you say, I am tired, I am poor, I am unlucky, I am abandoned, you are pronouncing the name of God within you and attributing a form to that name. You are sculpting your reality with a sharp chisel. Because the I Am is your personal God, it is your fundamental spiritual identity, it is the exact point where your consciousness touches the infinite. When Moses asked on the mountain what the name of what was manifesting there was, the answer was exactly this: I am that I am. This is not just theology. It is a manual for operating your life. Reflect with me now. What words have you been putting after the I am in your daily life? I am lucky or I am cursed. I am loved or I am disposable. I am capable or I am a failure. Each of these declarations is a judicial sentence over your own life, and life fulfills the sentence you yourself signed. Therefore, the first task of those who awaken to the law of assumption is to conduct an internal audit. You sit with a notebook, in silence, and write down all the I am phrases you habitually use. It will be painful. You will discover that you have been sentencing yourself to misery, loneliness, and illness for years, perhaps entire decades. But recognizing is the first step of liberation. After that, you rewrite, not in beautiful phrases that you do not feel, in phrases that your body accepts. Perhaps you cannot yet feel I am rich, because your subconscious will laugh and throw that phrase in the trash. But perhaps you can feel I am someone who is learning to prosper. Perhaps you can feel I am cared for by providence. Start where your emotion accompanies you. The feeling is the secret. If your emotion does not accompany the phrase is empty. But if your emotion accompanies it, even if the phrase is small, it has the force of an earthquake. Now let me tell you a story that may seem common, but it will mark you. A woman named Donna Edite, 62 years old, living in the interior of Minas Gerais. She wrote to me a few months ago. She had been living for 15 years without speaking to her eldest daughter. 15 years. They fought over an inheritance, one of those silly fights that grow because no one wants to bend first. Donna Edite had tried everything. She prayed in 15 different churches. She lit candles, she made promises, she paid novenas, nothing. The daughter remained blocked on all contacts, and the granddaughter was growing up without even really knowing who that grandmother was. Until Donna Edite started applying the law of assumption the right way. She no longer asked for the daughter to call. She began to feel each night before sleeping like a present grandmother. She imagined her granddaughter in her lap, felt her weight, felt the smell of talcum powder, heard the sound of her laughter. She imagined her daughter coming through the door of the house with a pão de queijo in her hand, saying, "Hi, Mom, I'm home." Persistence. Every night for 42 days. On the 43rd day, the phone rang. It was her daughter, crying, asking for forgiveness, for no apparent reason, without anything external having changed. Coincidence? No. It was the bridge of incidents. Donna Edite's subconscious, finally convinced by the persistence of the feeling, began to reorganize the fourth dimension. Thoughts were planted in the daughter's head. Old memories began to shine again. Dreams about her mother began to happen night after night, until the internal barrier collapsed and the human impossible became the spiritual inevitable. This is the mechanism. When you occupy with consistency the state of the wish fulfilled, the universe builds the bridges. It is not up to you to figure out how it will happen. The how is the job of the infinite intelligence that operates behind everything. It is up to you only to occupy the state, and to occupy it with faith, with persistence, with patience. And here is error number 1, the error that annuls the manifestation of the vast majority of people. Write this in your soul. The error has a name: anxious vigilance. It is when you do the technique correctly, but the next day you keep looking at your cell phone every 5 minutes. You keep checking if the change appeared. You keep asking everyone if it is working. This anxious vigilance transmits the opposite message to the subconscious. It says, loudly and clearly, I do not truly believe I am still waiting. I am still in lack. And the subconscious, obedient as always, annuls the previous programming and reconfirms the lack. That is why Neville insisted on something that seems simple and is the most difficult of all. After assuming the state, live as one who has already received. Forget it, let it go. Do not keep poking the seed to see if it has already germinated. You need to understand that there are 2 parallel times: psychological time and physical time. In psychological time, in the 4th dimension, your desire is already a fait accompli. It is already past. It has already happened. In physical time, it is coming. It is materializing through gestures, encounters, synchronicities, phone calls, messages, surprises. But physical time has its own rhythm. It depends on how many links life needs to stitch together. Some manifestations are fast: 3 days, 7 days, 21 days. Others take months. But all, without exception, depend on your firmness in not vacating the state. Let's think about love, which is one of the most frequent pains of the mature Brazilian. That woman divorced for years, who looks at the right side of the empty bed and feels a hole in her chest. She wants a companion. But what has she been doing, in fact? She woke up today feeling lonely. She had lunch feeling lonely. She came home from work feeling lonely. She went to sleep feeling lonely. She asked God for a love, but the dominant feeling all day long was the lack of it. And the universe delivered exactly that: more loneliness. The turn happens when she decides, against all physical evidence, to feel accompanied now. To feel what it would be like to come home and know that someone will arrive later to have dinner with her. To feel his presence on the sofa while watching television. To talk to him in silence, tell him how her day was, laugh at the little things. This exercise is not madness. It is spiritual engineering. She is building, in the 4th dimension, the state of shared love, and the subconscious will begin to stitch the incidents together. Perhaps a casual meeting at the neighborhood supermarket. Perhaps an old message that resurfaces without warning. Perhaps a friend introducing someone at a family barbecue. But only if she maintains, with firmness, the feeling. If she goes back to feeling lonely the next day, the universe cancels the request and rewrites the script of lack. Let's think about money, another deep pain. That 48-year-old man, name in the SPC, wife demanding, children asking, boss pressuring. He feels like a failure when he enters the bank. He feels like a failure when he pays the late rent. He feels like a failure when he sees his colleagues posting trips on Instagram. He prays asking for prosperity, but lives in a state of defeat all day long. The turn starts small. He learns to feel prosperous for the small things. Prosperous because he has health to work. Prosperous because he has a roof over his head. Prosperous because the fridge is not empty. He begins to accept what he has with true, not feigned gratitude, and on top of this foundation of gratitude, he builds the feeling of more. Before sleeping, he imagines opening the bank app and seeing a comfortable balance flashing on the screen. He feels the relief in his chest. He feels the lightness in his shoulders. He does not keep calculating where this money will come from. He just occupies the state, and the state begins to magnetize opportunities he didn't even see before. A business idea sprouts in his head out of nowhere, in the middle of a shower. An old client sends a message asking if he still does that service. A promotion at work appears. The bridges of incidents begin to be built one by one, without him noticing the spiritual backstage that is being stitched together. And at this point some will ask me, but what about God's will? What if what I ask for is not God's will? The answer is one of the most beautiful truths of this law. God's will in you is your freedom to create. God placed within you His own image, and that image is creative power. It is the I Am in action. When you assume a state of prosperity, of peace, of love, of healing, you are not going against God. You are fulfilling the highest design to manifest abundance on earth as it is in heaven. What goes against God is living in scarcity when the source is infinite. It is living in fear when love is eternal. It is living in illness when life is pure vibration. You are not asking for too much. You are finally learning to ask the right way, occupying the state. And even so, I need to tell you with firmness, because this is the hour of truth. The law works, but it requires courage. Courage to abandon the comfortable feeling of being a victim. Yes, it is comfortable, because while you are a victim, you do not need to be responsible for anything. You blame the ex-husband, you blame the economy, you blame the absent father, you blame the mother-in-law, you blame destiny, you blame the system. And time passes. But when you discover the law of assumption, the excuse ends. From now on, everything you feel will build everything you live, and that responsibility is too big for those who still want to remain small. That is why many people run away from this truth. They return to the old methods. They return to the recited prayer, to the candle lit without faith, to the request without feeling, and continue on the same wheel. But you who have reached this moment in the video, you are different. You will not run away. You are ready for spiritual maturity. I want to give you now another Brazilian case, a real one, that will touch you deep down. A man named Seu Renato, 54 years old, an app driver in Salvador. His youngest son, 19 years old, had fallen into drugs. 2 years lost on the street, disappearing, returning, disappearing again. Seu Renato's wife cried every night. He, in silence, cried inside the car between one ride and another. They tried a clinic, they tried therapy, they tried church, they tried everything. Until Seu Renato found the teachings of the law of assumption. It was not easy. The pride of a man from the Northeast resisted the idea of sitting still and feeling instead of acting. But the pain was greater. He began. Every night before sleeping, he would assume the state of a fulfilled father. He imagined his son at home, sober, sitting at the table, eating his mother's beans. He felt the smell of the plate. He felt the low laughter of the boy telling some story. He felt his wife squeezing his hand under the table in silent gratitude. Seu Renato did not know how his son was going to get there. It was not his business to know. He just occupied the state night after night. 5 weeks later, his son returned home on his own, head down, asking for help, asking for support. Today he has been clean for over a year. Seu Renato told me with a choked voice that he stopped asking God for a change and started feeling within himself the change already made. Then heaven moved. So let's close with the complete practical protocol. Every morning upon waking, before the cell phone, before coffee, before the mirror, you spend 90 seconds in silence, feeling internally. I am blessed, I am cared for, I am guided, I am loved, I am capable, I am prosperous, I am whole. Do not just speak, feel. Allow the body to agree with every word. During the day, watch your internal dialogue. Each time you catch a negative phrase spinning inside your head, gently replace it with a neutral or positive phrase. Do not force it. Replace it with kindness, like someone correcting a child. At night before sleeping, execute the short scene of the wish fulfilled. 5 minutes are enough. Feel, feel, feel. Fall asleep inside the scene if possible, and repeat this every holy day, with persistence. In 21 days, you will begin to notice that the world is changing around you, not because the world changed first, but because you changed first, and the world is only the echo of your consciousness. There is still a more subtle layer that needs to be said, because it differentiates those who truly manifest from those who keep spinning their wheels. It is the question of effort. People confuse manifestation with tiring mental effort. They think they need to keep repeating affirmations all day long, fighting against negative thoughts, watching every millimeter of the mind. That is exhaustion, not the law of assumption. True assumption is light. It is like dressing in new clothes. You put the clothes on in the morning, adjust them on your body and go about your life. You do not keep looking at the clothes all the time, checking if they are still there. You just are inside those clothes. When you assume the state of health, you do not keep fighting against the fear of illness. You simply feel healthy, and when the fear hits, you smile and return to the state without drama. When you assume the state of love, you do not keep chasing anyone. You feel loved, and life will bring that love through channels you didn't even imagine. Lightness, persistence without weight. This is the refined art. And finally, remember something that very few teachers teach in this country. The feeling is the secret, but the most powerful feeling of all is anticipated gratitude. It is thanking now, from the depths of your soul, for what has not yet arrived in the physical, but is already yours in the spirit. When you give thanks before, you are witnessing, you are affirming, you are signing the contract with the fourth dimension. The universe reads this contract as a fulfilled order and reorganizes everything to deliver. There is also the aspect of the heart's electromagnetic field, which modern science has finally recognized. Serious research has shown that the human heart generates an electromagnetic field detectable meters away from the body. This field changes according to the person's dominant feeling. When you feel fear, the field contracts, becomes disorganized, and emits a chaotic frequency that repels what is good. When you feel gratitude, love, peace, faith, the field expands, becomes coherent, and emits a harmonic frequency that attracts exactly what vibrates on the same frequency. This is not cheap mysticism. It is physics. It is measured in laboratories, and it confirms with instruments what ancient mystics already knew. Your feeling is your antenna. Your feeling decides what enters your life. You are literally a walking magnet, and the polarity of this magnet is defined by the state of consciousness you occupy. Now think about this. How many Brazilians are walking through the streets, taking crowded subways, returning home exhausted, with the magnet's polarity inverted, attracting precisely what they fear most? How many marriages are falling apart because both occupy the state of resentment instead of the state of renewed love? How many businesses are going bankrupt because the owner occupies the state of financial despair instead of the state of tranquil abundance? How many children are distancing themselves because the parents occupy the state of control and demand instead of the state of loving connection? Can you see it now? Everything that seemed like meaningless chaos in your life has a precise logic, and that logic is inside you, in the state of consciousness you chose, even without realizing you were choosing. But the good news, the news that can bring tears of relief, is that choosing is always possible. At any moment, including now, you can, at this very instant, decide to change your state of consciousness. Not tomorrow, not on Monday, not when life gets better. Now. Because the now is the only place where creation happens. The past is memory, the future is imagination, but the now is the exact point where your feeling touches matter. Each breath is a new chance. Each heartbeat is a spiritual signature being sent to the cosmos. You are never standing still. You are always creating. The only question is, creating what? I end with a certainty that I carry in my chest like a silent fire. You did not arrive at this video by chance. You arrived because some deep part of you grew tired of asking for crumbs and decided to reclaim what has always been yours. You are a child of the I Am. You are the very creative expression of divinity on this plane of existence. And your time has come. Starting today, you will no longer beg life. You will occupy the state. You will feel it before. You will persist until the physical world has no other choice but to obey what is already alive within you. The prayer was not useless, it was just incomplete. It lacked the feeling, it lacked the assumption, it lacked occupying, with every fiber, the state of the wish fulfilled. Now you have the method, now you have the key, now you have the responsibility. And before you close this video, I need you to hear this with an open heart. Everything you have heard up to here was not just a class on manifestation. It was a call. Your soul recognized every word because it already knew it. And now you have a responsibility that can no longer be ignored. For your peace, for your family, for the eternal destiny of those you love. That is why I prepared the powerful digital book for you, Como Saber Se Deus Vai Te Salvar no Juízo Final. The link is pinned in the description and at the top of the comments. Do not leave it for tomorrow. True content can be taken off the air without warning. Click now and let God speak to you through the pages. If this video touched your soul, leave the word Amen in the comments as your decree of acceptance. Like this video as an act of faith. Subscribe to the channel as a sign that you will no longer ignore the calls. Your life has already started to change. You just need to confirm it now.